الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. All praise due to Allah and His praise and blessings and peace be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, his companions, and his followers until the day of judgment. I bear witness that Allah is the only one worthy of worship, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his last and final messenger. Just before I start, the brother back there in the front on the chair, if you can, make sure that he's switched. You cannot have a chair at an exit door. So you have to go all the way back or in the middle. So somebody volunteer to replace or switch place with. Is the exit door. Far away, yes. Jazakallah khair. Thank you. Just for your safety and people's safety too. Just somebody switch with him. طيب. Because Allah forbid, if there's any exits and you have to rush out, you should not have any obstacles in the exit door. There is a scholar, his name is Imām al-Kasai rahimahullah, one of the greatest scholars in Arabic language and literature, and he was an amazing scholar, respected by all his peers, and everybody came later on, أحد القراء المشهورين. Imām al-Kasai rahimahullah, one day he was walking, and before he became a scholar, he was just a shepherd, ra'i ghanam. And he saw this mother dragging her son to the school to learn Quran and to learn, basic Arabics and stuff like that, like just to go to school. And her son was fighting back, he doesn't want to go. Then the mother said, you have to go to learn, otherwise you're going to end up like this ra'i. And she pointed to Imām al-Kasai rahimahullah. She said, you have to go to school, otherwise you're going to end up like this man, this shepherd. Have not much, future. Okay? So, al-Kasai rahimahullah قال فهمني جدا. I was very offended that I became like مضرب المثل, I became an example for the losers, that she told her son, if you don't study well, you're going to end up like him. And I felt so offended by that. He said, I decided to turn my life around. And also there's another story about something else happened to him once. He also went to a gathering and he started talking, people he said, every time he makes a statement, he said that's not linguistically correct. حتى أنه جمع علم الخليل وعلم علماء البصرة والحجاز. He collected the knowledge of the people in Al-Hijaz and Al-Basra, and he became the most recognizable name in Arabic language and in ilm in general, rahimahullah ta'ala. Guess what his age when he started? He was 40 years old. 40 سنة. وكان ابن 40 كما ذكر الحافظ الذهبي رحمه الله، ويحفظ كل يوم 5 مسائل فقط. He will memorize every day 5 points. He learned 5 things every day, and he keep repeating them. And he became one of the most recognizable scholars in history. That also reminded me of someone who was not far away in age from that same age, which is Ibn Hazm rahimahullah. Was a great scholar in Andalus. He said, I went once to the masjid, and I came and I sat. So somebody told me, don't sit without praying 2 rak'ah. Aren't you Muslim? Know your deen? Can't you know that no Muslim should sit on the masjid before praying 2 rak'ahs? Then he said, okay. So I was praying on another time, praying and came into the masjid, so I prayed 2 rak'ah. So somebody told me, stop, and he stopped me from praying. And he said, aren't you Muslim? Can't you know your deen? You know, now it's after Asr, almost Maghrib, why you pray? You should not pray. He came before Maghrib. And he said, this is one of the times the Prophet ﷺ said you should not pray. يقول تحيرت, so I became confused. Pray or not pray? And he said, I don't know what to say. Everybody come up with proof. So he said, I decided to learn myself, rahimahullah ta'ala. Then he said to one of his, his father is a very well-respected minister in the government, so he has access. So he asked someone to دله على دار الفقيه أبي عبد الله بن دحون. He went to one famous scholars, Maliki scholars at the time, and he told him his story. Then he said, son, why don't you read Al-Muwatta? And he gave him a copy from Al-Kitab Al-Muwatta Imam Malik rahimahullah. He said, I took it, I read it, and I loved it, and he dedicated the rest of his life for knowledge, and he became one of the most recognizable names in knowledge until today. And he was around his 30 rahimahullah ta'ala. يقول كنت ابن 26 سنة وأنا لا أحسن كيف أجبر الصلاة. I was 26 years old and I don't know what to do if I miss one rak'ah. If I come after the Imam finish 1 or 2 rak'ah, I don't know how to finish my salah. That basic knowledge that you might laugh and say, that's known. He doesn't know how to do that. He said, I wasn't like, I would get confused. That's how ignorant he was of the Sharia. And من قرأ, nowadays, Ibn Daqiq al-Eid rahimahullah and the scholars who came later يقولون لا تحل لامرئ الفتوى. You're not allowed to be a mufti unless you have a copy of 3 books. One of them, the book of Al-Muhalla ibn Hazm. That's how great scholars he become, rahimahullah ta'ala. Today I'm asking you to take lead and to take control over your life. It is your life, so make it a great life. Make it great. And nothing can make your life greater than learning the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and learning the knowledge of the Quran and Sunnah al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I want to share with you 5 obstacles, people mention it all the time, and 5 advices, 5 tips. The first obstacle people always say, Shaykh, it's hard for me to memorize. And it looks like all the Sharia knowledge about memorization. You know what, I'm too busy, I'm too occupied, hard for me to understand even the way the knowledge is written. I want you to know, memorization is a skill, it's not a condition for you to learn. You know, some of the Sahaba, they used to memorize only 5 verses. And when they finish it, they do. You know, it was said that one of the Sahaba took him 10 years to memorize Surah Al-Baqarah. 10 years. It's not necessarily that everyone have that, photography, memory. I do believe everybody have photographic memories. It's just some of us don't have a film. Some of us, like, their capacity, the memory card is very smaller than others. Anyway, we're all capable, scientifically, we're all capable to have an ability to memorize a lot. But in the end of the day, memorization has a lot of factors connected to it. But I understand you're not familiar with the subject, hard for you to memorize, maybe different language. But ya akhi, you don't need to worry about that. Just try to comprehend, to understand. I'm not asking you to be half the Quran or half to memorize the book of the hadith. No, repeat. Subhanallah, ذكر عن الربيع ibn Sulaiman, one of the most recognizable name in the Shafi'i fuqaha. He's a student of Shafi'i. كان يقول أنا بطيء الفهم يقول I am slow. I don't get things quickly. رحمه الله تعالى. And he said ذكر السبكي في طبقاته قال عن أنه قال كنت كررت كتاب الأم 500 مرة حتى أدركته. I read Al-Umm للشافعي, written by Shafi'i, 500 times until I was able to understand it. Abu Yusuf, who doesn't know? When we said Hanafi, Abu Hanifa, immediately you think of the 2 students of Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, Sahibay, Abu Yusuf and Muhammad ibn al-Hasan al-Shaybani. Don't think that they were genius, they were genius, but the point is, don't think that it's not about talent as much as about commitment. يقول أبو حنيفة رحمه الله, يقول يعني كنت بليدا لكن أخرجتك المواظبة. He said to Abu Yusuf, you are balid, يعني you are slow in understanding things. You don't get things fast. You're slow. But the thing that made you distinguish is your commitment, al-muwadhaba, that you always come and you always study. Don't give up. Another obstacles people give, they said, I'm not a sheikh, I don't want to be a sheikh, I don't want to be a mufti. Habibi, this is important for all of us to know, old or young. It's not learning the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not about you being sheikh. It's not about you giving lecture. It's not about you giving talks or giving answers to people. No, the first reason for us to seek knowledge is for us to be educated, to remove the ignorance that we have, to enlighten ourselves. So I worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based on huda, based on nur, based on ilm, not just based on culture and imitation. Also, a lot of people say, من أين يعني أبدأ ومن أستمع له إلى آخره. And before that, I just want to remember the ikhlas, the intention has to be pure when we seek knowledge, when we learn, because it's an ibadah, it's an act of worship in itself. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, من طلب علما ليباري به السفهاء أو ليباهي به العلماء أو ليصرف وجوه الناس إليه فهو في النار. Anyone seek the ilm, the knowledge of Sharia, just to start argue with people and go debate people online and social media, or liyubahi bil ulama, they act like a scholars and they want to be recognized like a scholars, or liyasrifa ilayhi wujuh an-nas, so people will look up to him and he become fan and followers and celebrity status. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, fahuwa fi an-nar, such person in hellfire. As for the question where I start from, who do I start with, who do I learn, what book that I read, I want to say, Ya Akhi al-Habib, just ibda, just to start. I'm tired of this. Some people for the last 15 years, I know them. Every time they tell me, inshallah, I'll start with 40 النووية. صارت 400,000 نووية, مو 40 نووية. It became like 40 نووي في حديث, it became like 40,000 نووي hadith. Ya Habibi, just start. Just start with a simple thing, Juz Amma. At least understand the meaning of Juz Amma. At least. Just a simple understanding of it. Of some of the surah that you read. Listen to Riyadh al-Salihin, to 40 Nawawiyya for Nawawi, collection of Nawawi rahimahullah. Just simple steps. You don't need to complicate it. People have a different way. People have a different interest in different fields of knowledge. But the more you learn, the more you start listening, the more you take the steps, the more you will find yourself going deeper and deeper. I always say al-ilm kal-bahr. It's like ocean. We can enter the ocean from different places. You enter from this spot, I go from here, you go from there. As long as, alhamdulillah, you take it slowly, step by step, and you know how to swim and how to learn, to have a sheikh that help you, will be great. Who do you listen to? Make sure that you listen to someone and you read for someone have a correct aqeedah, so it doesn't corrupt your belief or promote bid'ah to you. And in the tips, I will give something specifically for this. Number 4, which is, I think it's the most common one. أكثر الناس لا يوجد لهم حماس أصلا لطلب العلم. People are not interested in learning. We have a class, you have 2-3 people show up. You have class, you have online 2-3 people. Go take a class and commit yourself. There's no interest. The reality. Many young people, ilm is not attractive for them anymore. They're attractive, they're willing to spend hours and hours in many other things, but when it comes to learning, it's a quite challenge. Qais ibn Kathir said a man came to Medina to visit Abu Darda, and that city was Dimashq. كان أبو الدرداء في دمشق وهو أعظم فقهائها. Then he said to him, ما أقدمك يا أخي? Abu Darda said, what brought you here? He said, he came all the way from Medina to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam to Dimashq, and he said, because I heard that you narrating hadith about the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and I want to hear it directly from you. People in Medina told me that you the one who heard it from the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Then Abu Darda told him, that's the only thing made you travel all this distance? He said, yes. Do you need anything from me? He said, no. Do you have any business in Damascus? You come in to take care of it? He said, no. قال ما جئت إلا لطلب هذا الحديث لا تجارة ولا حاجة ولا غير. No relative, nothing. قال فإني سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. I heard the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, من سلك طريقا يبتغي فيه علما, whoever take a path for seeking knowledge, سلك الله له به طريقا إلى الجنة, Allah will make him an easy path to Jannah. وإن الملائكة لتضع أجنحتها رضا لطالب العلم, and angels lower their wings for the student of knowledge, the one who learning, the one who's seeking knowledge. What that means, they lower their wings يعني to protect him. They lower their wing out of respect for him. Also, he said صلى الله عليه وسلم, وإن العالم ليستغفر له من في السماوات ومن في الأرض حتى الحيتان في الماء. That a person who's knowledgeable will be a person that everyone in heavens and earth from Allah's creation will be making istighfar for him. Even that, the small fish in the oceans, which is billions and billions of them. Or al-hitan could means the whales, the biggest animal. And also the ants. So the biggest to the smallest. Or the largest number in the sea, and ants are the largest number in the land. Both way you can understand the hadith. Okay? So all these creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, oh Allah forgive to so and so. Oh Allah forgive so and so. Then he said, وَفَضْلُ الْعَالِمِ عَلَى الْعَابِدِ. The virtue of a knowledgeable person over a worshipper, just a worshipper, كَفَضْلِ الْقَمَرِ عَلَى سَائِرِ الْكَوَاكِبِ. Like the virtue of the moon over so many other planets that you don't see. It doesn't have any impact on us, direct impact on us. In the one narration, like my position towards you, like how Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam position in the ummah, that's how the al-alim position toward comparing to the public. And al-ulama are the inheritors of the prophets. The prophets do not leave behind them wealth, but they left behind them knowledge. فَمَنْ أَخَذَ مِنْهُ أَخَذَ بِحَظٍ وَافِرٍ. If you seek more knowledge of what the Prophet ﷺ left behind him, which is the Quran and the Sunnah and this deen and this Risala, you are in higher status. My brothers and sisters, if you have the lack of interest, think about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about the people of knowledge, that He've taken them witness, that Allah ordered us to follow them. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. They will never be equal, those who know and those who don't. يقول عمر كلمة جميلة، عمر رواه البخاري في صحيحه، قال عمر تفقهوا قبل أن تسودوا. Make sure that you gain knowledge before you become in charge. If you now today, especially those young men and women, make sure that you learn before you get married. So you know the rules of marriage and the rules in relation to the future. You're gonna have business. You're gonna have a family. You're going to be a leader in community. Make sure that you learn. يقول البخاري رحمه الله لما روى هذا الأثر قال وبعد أن تسودوا. يعني تفقهوا بعد أن تسودوا. قال البخاري made a comment. He said, not only learning before you become in charge. البخاري said, and after you become in charge. You need to have the knowledge of Sharia. You do your best and you try your best to learn. So, one of the things that, in my opinion, if that's good enough for you to inspire you to learn, just think about how bad ignorance is. How bad ignorance is. That's what motivated Al-Kasai, because he was seen as an ignorant person. لذلك يعني قال عروة لابنه عروة بن الزبير said to his son, ما أسوأ الشيخ الجاهل. The worst thing is to see an old man, but he doesn't know his deen. He doesn't know the rules of Sharia. And we have so many like that today. MashaAllah, 60, 70, and he still doesn't know any basics in his deen. Or ask him basic things. Or Samad, what it means, I don't know. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Quddus means, I don't know. What the Salam means, I don't know. Basics. Can you read just 2-3 lines of the Quran? No. Shame that our youth today have no interest. I'm not saying have no knowledge, have no even interest to learn. وَسَوْأَتَهُ. People saying to me all the time, Shaykh, we don't have time, we are old, we're not specialized. I'm a doctor, I'm a nurse, I'm a businessman, I'm a student. You know what? It doesn't matter how old are you, how young you are. It doesn't matter what kind of career that you are in. What matters is how much you care. It doesn't matter how much you accumulate, but how much you commit. Even if it's a little bit. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum, you think they were young? They were like full-time student of knowledge? They have family, they have work, they have business. They are old. Most of them were in their 30s, or many of them were 30s. تعرف السيوطي يقول ينبغي سماع الحديث بعد سن الثلاثين. السيوطي رحمه الله said, after you reach the age of 30, that's the time when you start hearing the hadith. قال وكان جماعة يستحبون ذلك. He said some group of scholars like that. Just remember, one of the great scholars in Islam is named الفضيل بن عياض. كان شاطرا. يعني ايش شاطر؟ شاطر في اللغة العربية معناه ايش؟ حرامي. طيب كان شاطرا يقول الذهبي رحمه الله, he was a thief, break into people's house. وكان لهم رأي يحبها, and there is a girl he likes. فكان دائما يتصور على سورها ويقعد ينظر إليها كذا من السور ويتفرج عليها وهي جوا البيت. He will go in the night and he knows how to climb walls very well. He's a thief. He climbed the wall and he stopped watching her, looking at her, sometimes like, flirt with her in her house. So one day he was waiting for her to come and he heard the one next to her house, the house next to them, reading in the night. And he was reading من Surah Al-Hadid when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. Isn't the time for the believing men and women now, isn't the time for you as a believer, for this heart to humble itself to Allah? He was in tears and broken tears, and he came down and he said, yes, it is the time. And he became one of the most recognizable scholars and asset worshippers in Islam, Al-Fudayl ibn Iyad, rahimahullah ta'ala. I ask Allah Azza wa Jalla أن يرزقنا وإياكم علما نافعا وعملا صالحا. أقول ما سمعتم وأستغفر الله لي ولكم استغفر. الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وبعد. There is many people started their journey and they took control over their life and they made their life great. Not necessarily in the beginning of their life. Zir ibn Hubaysh, which is most of us read the Quran according to his qira'ah. دخل العلم إيش؟ He studied from Ibn Abbas and أخذ ابن عباس وقرأ وكان ابن 60. He was 60 years old. Ibn al-Jawzi, he said, I start learning علم القراءات with my son when I was 60 years old. Ibn Asakir, great scholars in hadith, after 40s, he started, rahimahullah ta'ala. Khalid al-Azhari is a famous scholar in Arabic as well, in Al-Azhar, very famous if you Google his name. He used to be the caretaker of the Masjid al-Azhar in Egypt, in Cairo. كان يعني ينظف المسجد وإلى آخره. هذا الشيخ رحمه الله تعالى became later on one of the greatest scholars من علماء الأزهر, من أكبر علماء الأزهر رحمه الله تعالى. He became one of the great scholars from the Azhar. You know how he started? He was also in his 40, I believe, when he started, rahimahullah, 36, something like that. He was supposed to put lights. It's a candle, you put oil, then you light it up. So he dropped some oils on somebody. Then he told him, Ya Jahil, hey, you ignorant, don't you watch what you're doing. Then when he said, it hurts me when he said, Ya Jahil. It really hurts me when he said, hey, ignorant person, watch out what you're doing. And he said, I decided to learn. And he became one of the great scholars of his time. Many scholars, Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam, inshallah we'll have other time to talk about this, but 5 tips I want you to keep in mind. Number 1, it will help you. اجعل للعلم وقتا مخصصا في جدولك اليومي أو الأسبوعي. Make sure that you have every day or every week a specific time to learn. I don't care to read, to listen to lecture, but you have to have a time. It's 10 minutes, inshallah, 5 minutes. I don't care. But that's something I want to increase my knowledge of deen every day or every week. But don't go beyond that, in my opinion. Just have one hour and commit to it. You're not going to do it if you're just going to get after this khutbah, you go back to the same exact routine that you had before listening to this khutbah. Number 2, Ya akhi, take advantage of your driving, of when you exercise, when you walk, whatever you go to the gym. Listen to something beneficial. Don't just listen to beats. Just listen to a lecture. And I advise you to listen to a series of lectures. Like, for example, a series of lectures about seerah, a series of lectures about tafsir, juz amma, a series of lectures about fiqh. Something to build you up, to build your knowledge. 3, make sure that you put a commitment for yourself to read a book. Either audiobook, to listen to it, or to read it. But make sure that you make commitment that every month I will have a new book. I will look at it, or I will read every month, every 2 months, based on the size. And I'm talking about a book that will help you to grow. And if you want help, I'll be Shaykh Kamash Ibrahim, more than happy to give you some suggestions. Number 4, attend the classes. If there is a class in the masjid, attend. I'll be honest with you. Many times people will say to me, Ya Sheikh, we need classes. Then you make the class and you see the attendance is we do this for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't do it for people. But you will be surprised why the community are, mashallah, it's not all muftis and have knowledge. You see that's across the board in America. People complain about attend the classes. You know what? Make sure that you made that commitment. Either on site or live or online. Take advantage of your local shuyukh. Number 5, I highly advise you is also to make an arrangement with friends to increase your knowledge collectively. If you're a high schooler and you listen to my khutbah, if you're a group of sisters and listen to my khutbah, if you are, mashallah, a bunch of young people in their 50s and 60s or late 40s, or you are in college, team up with some people and said, you know what, you're not a social person, you and your family. Make sure that you have basically a weekly gathering. And in this weekly gathering, my advice to you is the following. Is in this weekly gathering, there is a 30 minutes and you prepare something. Then your son prepares something. Your daughter prepares something. Your wife prepares something. Listen to something, then make a summary of it and give it to them. Read from Riyadh al-Salihin. Just as simple as that. Or you are a group of friends, even if it's over Zoom or online or on site with keeping social distance, okay? That's fine. But my point is, this is another thing that you can take advantage of. And these are 5 tips I think possible for each and every one of us. And you will see how your life will be great. Not only this life, but also the next one. Because Imām al-Shafi'i rahimahullah said something very good to reflect upon. قال لا أعلم بعد الفرائض أعظم قربة لله من طلب العلم. I don't know anything after the obligations in Islam that bring you more closer to Allah than seeking knowledge. Just remember that. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by His names and attributes أن يرزقنا وإياكم علما نافعا وعملا صالحا. اللهم ارزقنا العلم النافع والعمل الصالح. اهدنا لما ينفعنا يا حي يا قيوم. ارحمنا واعف عنا واغفر لنا وأعنا يا لا تعن علينا يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. ولي علينا خيارنا وأبد عنا شرارنا يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تغفر لنا ولوالدينا أحياء وأمواتا وللمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات. اللهم اهدنا وأصلحنا واصلح بنا واهد بنا يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. اللهم إنا نسألك فعل الخيرات وترك المنكرات وحب المساكين. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى وأن تؤتي نفوسنا تقواها وأن تزكيها أنت خير من زكاها. ابعد عنا الشر يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. احفظنا في صحتنا وعافيتنا وأموالنا وأولادنا وبيوتنا ودورنا يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام من تحول عافيتك وفجاءة نقمتك وجميع سخطك والنار. ثقل ميزاننا ويسر حسابنا ويمن كتابنا واعل في الجنة درجاتنا يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم تسليما كثيرا. وقوموا للصلاة يرحمكم الله.